Welcome back to another Secrets of the Pros here. Pristine production. And shout out to all the fans who keep supporting me on YouTube, where you can check out my latest videos. I have a new score out called Red Water. It's a cinematic pulsating score here. Check out my reggae mixing videos. And today we're going to be talking about a very special mixing tutorial here. We're going to be calling it the Mixing Female Vocal Chain. And I'm going to share some tips and tricks how the pros do it, why we use certain chains, get that vocal to cut through. I have a vocal here. Notice that vocal is cutting really nice through the mix, so let's get right down into it. So let's get right down to the bottom of it here. So I'm gonna go down to my session here. Remember, guys, want me to mix for you? Hit me up, email me. I charge reasonable rates. So let's get right down to it. So I'm playing a reggae song here, and the first thing is first here. We're gonna center solely on the vocal. So I'm gonna isolate the vocal here with the bass guitar here. So let's go ahead and do that.
Don't you pretend with me. You used to be good company. And I'd get excited.
Now I want you to listen to how the vocal is cutting through.
Now you're a disgrace. We talk all the time, open hearts and open minds. No complications.
So how did I get the vocal to be on that level there? So, and that is Azrin, by the way. Shout out to Azrin, a great recording vocalist. So let's get to my chain. You might say, Ray, what are you doing? What are you using on your chain? So let's get to that. So first of all, I'm going to share what I'm doing with the sends as well. And sometimes I do it, sometimes I not. What I'm doing is parallel compression here. So if I turn off the...
And I was always there to wipe your tears.
So let's turn off the inserts. I'm going to turn them off here. I'm going to turn off the sends.
But you weren't there.
This is the raw vocal now. I'm going to play that with the bass so you can hear the difference here.
Don't you pretend with me. You used to be good company.
Nice, pretty well recorded vocal, but it's dry. So here's the steps we need to do. So first of all, I'm using a little bit of auto-tune. I'm going to jump into that stuff. So what I needed, I'm going to show you the chain I'm using here. I'm using the NLS here. And I was using the 1176. I'm going to explain the reason why I switched from that and went with the Gem Comp here, the Black Edition here, UAD style. And I'm using the Meg EQ, and I'm also using the L1 limiter, and I'm doing a couple instances of EQ here. And that's about it for this particular vocal. So you might say, Ray, why are you using so many plugins on just a vocal chain? And on top of it, I'm doing some sends as well. So first thing is first, when I listen to Azrin performance here, this is a reggae music, so we want to make sure you know, you're going to get some big bass bottom end on it. So we want to make sure Azrin vocal is cutting through and we don't have any complications here. So I'm playing the bass
I
here.
get excited to see your face and hear your voice.
So what I did, I took a copy of Azrin's vocal and I sent it to a bus, and I inserted the SSL bus compressor here, and I'm doing a parallel compression.
But now you're a disgrace.
Listen to the difference. Off.
We talk all the time. Open hearts and open minds.
So I'm getting a little bit of more volume and punch to the vocals. So the first thing I did here, we want to use some harmonic saturation here. Wanted analog sound to give Azrin a little bit of let's take off. Can I take off the noise here? Let's. Is it off or is it on? I think it's off. Noise. Okay, it's off now. We want to make sure that using harmonic saturation gives the vocal presence, gives a little bit more energy, giving that warmth. So I'm going to turn on the NLS here.
No complications.
Notice that the vocal gets a little bit more up in volume here.
To wipe your tears.
Off.
But you weren't there for me when I needed you to be. The fakes always betray.
So that's what I needed. And first I was going with the 1176 from the Waves, but I kind of ran into, and I'm going to say problem, but a little bit of setback here. I'm going to turn on the compressor.
I learned that the hard way, so don't trust so easily. So-called friends and family turn into snakes. So many tears.
I'm going to play the rest of the track, and you're going to hear, I'm going to show you something that this 1176 is doing with the vocal.
Won't you pretend with me?
It's still relatively dry.
You used to be good company. And I get excited to see your face and hear your voice.
Words like your face, the compressor is pulling a little bit negative sense. Sometimes it goes to negative 10 dB. And if I go through the chorus part here where Azrin starts to sing the chorus here, I'm getting a little bit too much compression from the 1176 here.
Too many tears after.
Right here.
So why are these tears in my eyes when I know you wouldn't care if I.
Let's get right down to the chorus now.
The fakes always betray.
I'm going to turn off, I'm going to isolate background vocal. Listen to The Snakes Always Betray.
The fakes
fakes.
always betray.
You can see the needle is grabbing a little bit too much of negative 10 dB. Sometimes, most of the time, I would push a compression, maybe negative 5, negative 7 if it's a very energetic vocal. But in this case, when it hits that 10 dB, because Azrin is singing at a high velocity here, I'm getting a little bit too much compression.
Always betray.
And that was kind of taking out the energy. So 1176 was going against me in that format there. I'm gonna solo the parallel compression.
I learned
So just turn it off.
that the hard way.
Notice without the compression, you can hear her vocals a little bit better, but it's not controlled. So we need to be careful. That's the reason why I kind of reverted from the 76. And make sure, guys, when you're bypassing plugins, those just so you don't fool your ears, you make sure that they're at the same relative volume. So
easily, so cold.
So I can hear the difference, what the compressor, what the effect is actually doing. So first thing is first, I went and did an EQ here on Azrin. I'm gonna bypass. I'm gonna explain the frequency first. I'm boosting about 1 dB at 5K, and I'm boosting about 6 dB at 12, and I'm cutting a little bit of the 2K here. Let me turn off these high frequency. I'm going to show you what I'm cutting here.
Friends and family turn into snakes.
So I didn't like some frequency in the 500 range. I'm gonna exaggerate that so you can see. Listen to it.
The fake soul.
That little nasal boxy stuff. So I'm taking out about 168, about 1 dB or 2. And of course they have a little bit of low end here I didn't like first.
I learned that.
That right there to me, in a way it sounded like it wasn't needed, and then in a way it sounded like it was needed. So I decided to cut out a little bit of that low end because most of our energy is coming from the upper mid range. So
At the hard way.
and then there's a little bit of 2K. You want to be careful with 2K because that represents the clarity of the vocals. I'm going to boost the energy here, which I'm taking away here, a little bit of resonance.
So don't trust so easily. So-called friends and family.
So almost like a dB I'm taking away here. Now I'm going to be boosting the 5K at 1 dB.
Turn into snakes.
Off. Let me go back to the song here.
You used to be good company.
5K off, 5K on.
And I'd get excited
So I'm sorry, let me bypass here.
to see your face and hear your voice.
5K off.
But now you're
5K on.
a disgrace.
So words like disgrace, you can hear a little bit more S on it. Let's turn on the 12K.
We talk all the time, open hearts and open mind.
Notice things get a little bit more
No
clear.
complications.
Off.
And I was always there to wipe your tears.
So by cutting a little bit of the 2K, I'm getting rid of a little resonance, a little bit of 500, which was that boxy sound. I'm getting rid of that. And I'm cutting a little bit of low end here. I'm high passing about 130. This is a female vocal, so sometimes we tend to get a little bit more, we can remove a little bit more bottom end without affecting the vocal. So that's what I did with that first EQ there. It's followed by a second EQ here. It's knocking out some more resonance here. Let's play Azrin.
But you weren't there for me.
A little bit of 760.
When I needed you to be.
Getting rid of
the
that.
fake soul
379.
betray.
Getting rid of that.
I learned that
And I'm cutting a little bit more, like almost about 3K here.
at the hard way.
So Azrin is very mid-rangey, and it's not a big, super expensive mic. It's a professional mic, but sometimes different singers, you got to treat their throat, their singing voice is a different instrument here. So that's all I'm doing on this EQ here. Now I'm going to show where the real magic is coming from here. Let's bring up the Meg EQ here. And I'm going to show you what I did with this EQ and why I chose it here. So I'm playing.
So don't trust so easily.
So what I'm going to be doing with the Meg EQ, I'm going to be boosting a little bit of bottom end here, the sub information, probably about the 30 to 40, 50, 60 area. It doesn't have an exact number, but since it's analog gear we're using here to mix Azrin vocals, we're getting some nice texture, and we're going to be getting some nice clarity. So I'm going to turn on the Meg EQ, and I'm also boosting a little bit of about half, almost a dB at 40. I'm boosting a little bit 2K, 2.5K, because I like how it sounds on this plugin, on this EQ, although we're actually cutting 2K exact. We're putting 2.5 back to get a little bit more energy here. And I'm boosting a 10K at 6 dB. So let's turn on the Meg EQ.
So-called friends and family turn into snakes.
And this is the air we're getting.
So many tears
EQ off.
after so many years
EQ on.
of you playing victimized.
And we can choose the different
Threw
frequency.
away our friendship that was built
All the way up to 40 kilohertz.
on lies.
But on the 10 kilohertz here, from the Meg EQ, I'm getting at about 6 dB, which is a big boost. But although I'm boosting big on the knob here, it's not actually boosting the frequency by a whole big sum. It's giving me a nice subtle change. I'm going to bring in the bass guitar. You can hear the vocals going to be cutting with the bass guitar better now. Let's play it.
Don't you pretend with me.
Meg EQ off.
You used to be good company.
Meg EQ on.
And I'd get excited to see your face and hear your voice.
Now remember earlier I was talking about 1176, that ratio, that 4:1. The 1176 only have 4 up to 20 ratio, and even though the verses sound great on Azrin vocals, it was compressing her high performance a little bit too low. So I needed another compressor to combat that. Here's the black comp G, and here is the 2:1 ratio here. I'm doing a fast attack. I'm doing a little bit of threshold here, a little bit about 4 dB of gain reduction here. A fast release time and a little bit of makeup game. So let me turn on the compressor
But
here.
now you're a disgrace. We talk all the time, open hearts and open minds. No complications.
Now I want you to hear the
And I
chorus.
was always
Listen to how when she sings the high piece, the compressor doesn't squash it. It just keeps it a good balance here. So let's go ahead and play that part here.
the fakes always betray.
So at a maximum of almost 8 dB, we're getting there. On 1176, it was going like a little past 8, almost to 10.
I learned that.
And if I play it in the context of the mix here, you're going to hear that part cuts in nice. It's not sounding overly compressed.
The fakes always betray. I learned that the hard way. So don't trust so easily. So-called friends and family turn into snakes. The fakes always.
So even though she's singing high, the compressor is really holding her right there. And that's what I was looking for in the compression. Sometimes these simple little things you got to pay attention to. You can automate and try to ride the volume there, which could have worked, but you might still be dealing with some unbalanced dynamics. So best you use a compressor to control the vocals. The other stuff that I did quickly, I sent her through a reverb here. Using the Waves reverb here with a little bit of roll off on the bottom end here. And I'm sending a copy of her voice, just the top end, to the double here, which I'm getting that reverb sound.
You pretend with me. You used to be
And I'm going to be adding a H delay here, just to add a little bit of vibe.
good company. And I'd get excited to see
So when you hear that excited, you have that nice excited ping-ponging left and right,
your face and hear your voice.
which gives her vocal a little bit more space. Now on the last chain, I'm using the Waves L1 limiter, and this is how the pros stack it, guys. So you want to learn how to mix pro, follow my page, Pristine Productions. Now I'm pulling down the threshold and output ceiling at the same time, about negative 13.6 dBs, so you can catch those small little peaks that might be peaking after the compressor. The reason why I stacked the mag, because you might say, Ray, why did you put the EQ before the compressor? Why don't compress the vocals first, then EQ? Because I boosted a little bit of the low end here on Azrin because I want a little bit more meat to the vocals. Obviously, this is reggae. I want to give her a little bit more strength, and this bottom end on this particular EQ sounds good on her vocals. And by boosting the bottom end, it's going to help the vocal be prepared to be compressed a little bit more smoothly by the compressor, which is next after the chain. And then after that, we want to use the L2 how to control
But now you're a disgrace.
that level, so we have a nice close to perfect mix. I'm going to use the word perfect because Perfect doesn't really exist. You might feel perfect. The mix might feel perfect, but sometimes stuff that is a little bit off and on sounds great and sounds perfect. Put it that way. So I'm bringing the bass guitar here, bringing some of the rhythm intro.
We talk all the time, open hearts and open minds, no complications.
So you can see the L2 working there.
No one's always there to wipe your tears, but you weren't there for me when
Now listen to the chorus here. So that's what I wanted from this compressor. Like, this compressor was like the key thing in this chain. Yes, we did a great job EQing. I'm not undermining EQ here. Of course, you got to EQ professionally. But the main thing for this vocal was to be treated with the compressor. So when she hit that high note, it doesn't go really past the 8. And it's preserving her vocals nice and tight at a ratio of 2:1. Why I chose the this black comp was because the 1176, which 90% of the time I mix with, whether it's dancehall, Caribbean music, rock music, pop music, it only has a ratio of 4. Maybe in a trap vocal this would work good, but for her vocal we needed more compression with less ratio, and I had to go lower than 4. So that's why I chose the Gem Comp G to get things rolling. So if we hear it in the context of the mix here now.
So many tears after so many years of you playing victimized. Threw away our friendship that was built on lies.
And this is what mixing is about, folks. You're feeling what these compressors and these EQs are doing. You're not actually hearing pumping sound. And that's the real art of mixing.
So why are these tears in my eyes when I know you would?
So to recap real quick here, what we did with Azrin vocals on the chain here. We need a little bit of harmonic presence here, and a little bit of warmth on the vocals. So we added NLS, give it a little bit of drive. Sometimes if you want to get the guts out of certain things, you want to push the needle almost in the red here to get a good grit if you're using maybe on a guitar or something. And the second thing that we did, we took an EQ and we did some gentle cuts, about 2K. I took out a little bit of resonant, a little bit of 500 sound, a little bit boxy, a little bit 191, which is a different low mid range that we didn't like. And we boosted a little bit of 5K and a little bit of 12K to get a little bit of a presence there. And we did some more cuts, just about 1 or 2 dB. These subtle little changes go a far way in mixing vocal, guys. Else you can mess up your if an artist sends you a session and you mess her vocals up, that's it, man. You're probably gonna get paid or something, or not get paid. And that's it. You're not going to get any more jobs. So you got to be careful when it comes to the female vocals. We use the Meg EQ from Plugin Alliance here. We get a little bit 1 dB of the sub here, which it sounds to me like maybe about 100 kilohertz, or maybe below 100, but it sounds great. Well, I'm not here to just follow the numbers. I'm going with the sound, and the reason why I chose certain sounds. I'm boosting a little bit of almost a dB actually, at 40, and a little bit of 2.5K here, and a little bit of air at 6 dB, about 10K. And what I like about this EQ, again, I'm boosting, according to the knobs, I'm boosting a lot here on the air part, but the EQ itself is giving a subtle change, a very small a change here, which is just what I wanted here. And that's what we did with the Mag EQ, and we make sure we added some bottom end to also prepare that vocal to be compressed, because this is the pre-plan. It's a pre-flight check before the vocal rides, and the Black Comp G compresses and grab her vocals beautifully, maintaining the dynamics here. Most of her high-end energy singing, the needle goes almost about 8, and while we're maintaining her performance and natural sound with the fastest attack here, the lowest ratio, which is 2-to-1 here on this compressor, and a fast release, and we're going about 4 dB up to 8 dB of compression here, which sounded beautifully on this compressor here. The compressor outdone itself in this rack here. But all these things work together. And just so we can control some dynamics from Azrin, we make sure we use the L1 to grab those little peaks that was cutting through, and this is the end result here.
If I die, you meant the world to me.
So I'm going to play the vocal once more. I'm going to turn off some of these chains and play it once again so you can hear. So,
But you laugh so easily.
NLS to give some harmonics.
I hope you're happy.
We use the Mag EQ to get a little bit more air.
The fakes always betray.
Control frequency with the
I
Comp G
learned that the hard way.
and the
So
L1
don't trust so easily. So-called friends and family.
to control the overall output, giving us a nice balanced mix, and her vocal is sitting just nice there. So I'm going to stop there, guys. I want to thank you so much. Look me up. If you want me to mix and master, mix and master trap beats, rock music, pop, Afro beats, soca, reggae, dancehall, you name it, I do it. R&B, and I charge very reasonable prices to get your mix done, and people are always looking for a great engineer, and that's what I'm here to represent. So I'm going to catch you guys on the next one. Remember, you can support me on YouTube. Type in Pristine Productions. I have scores. I have videos on mixing, mastering, sequencing, and scoring for games and all of that stuff. So I'll catch you guys on the next one.